You're already here. The night didn't begin, it was simply there, and you were in it just as naturally as the darkness between the stars. The ocean breathes in front of you, slowly, deeply, as if it has nowhere to go and nothing to wait for. A wave comes closer, stops, pulls back. There is no invitation in its movement. It doesn't call, it doesn't explain, it doesn't ask who you are. You stand there, and you feel something familiar, not sharp, not painful, just quiet. The same feeling that sometimes appears among people when you're present, but somehow slightly aside, as if the world is speaking, just not to you. The ocean is vast. It doesn't need to know you're here. It doesn't turn toward you. It doesn't change its rhythm. And somehow, that reminds you of many other moments. Times when you stayed silent, when you waited, when you weren't sure if you should say anything at all. The sand beneath your feet is cool. It accepts the weight of your body without resistance. You can simply stand, or you can shift your weight slightly from heel to toe. Either way, it holds you. The air is damp. It touches your skin gently, without expectation. No one here is waiting for the right words from you. No one here is waiting for words at all. The ocean has no face, so there is nothing for it to read in your eyes. It doesn't know stories. It doesn't remember names. At least, that's how it seems. Waves come and go, each one slightly different, even if you can't quite say how. Maybe you notice how your breathing slowly begins to match their rhythm, not because you're trying, but because the body likes to follow something calm. Inhale, a pause, exhale. The ocean doesn't notice this, and somehow that feels like relief. You don't have to be interesting. You don't have to be seen. You don't even have to be anyone in particular. Here, you're allowed to simply be present, like a stone, like a shadow, like a breath. And still, somewhere deep inside, a small question appears, not in words, as a feeling. What if someone does know you're here? The thought doesn't tighten anything. It arrives and leaves, like a wave. You don't need to hold on to it. The night grows a little deeper, the darkness softer, the ocean closer, even though it hasn't moved. You realize you've been here for some time now, or maybe you haven't. Time doesn't have clear edges here. At some point, you sit down, not because you're tired, but because your body chooses a lower place on its own. The sand feels colder against your palms. It's pleasant, grounding. A wave reaches almost to your feet, stops, as if it respects the distance. The ocean takes nothing and gives nothing. It simply is. And within that being, there is no space for judgment. You are not right and not wrong. You are just another shape of quiet. Maybe you notice that your thoughts are becoming less frequent. They don't disappear. They simply stretch out. Space appears between them, and inside that space, there is no need to decide anything. The ocean doesn't ask why you came. It doesn't ask what you want. It doesn't even know that wanting is possible. Wave after wave, breath after breath. And suddenly it becomes clear you are not missing anything. Nothing is happening here. And that's exactly why it feels safe. You can stay, you can be silent, you can listen, or you can simply be so quiet that even your name isn't needed for a while. The ocean breathes. The night holds you. The ocean keeps breathing, not louder, not closer, just the same slow movement, as if nothing new needs to happen. You remain where you are, sitting, or maybe resting inside the idea of sitting. Your body has found a shape that doesn't ask for effort. The sand under you adjusts in tiny ways, grain by grain, so slowly that you don't really notice it happening, only that somehow you're supported a little more than before. The night air feels cooler now, or maybe you're simply noticing it more clearly. It moves across your skin without urgency, like a quiet hand passing by and then moving on. The ocean still doesn't speak, and yet it doesn't feel empty. There is a presence here, not watching, not listening in the way people listen, just existing alongside you. You realize something gently. The ocean never tries to be heard. It doesn't raise its voice. It doesn't repeat itself louder when no one answers. It moves the way it moves, wave after wave, whether anyone is here or not. And that thought settles somewhere deep, like a stone sinking slowly through water. How often have you tried to be louder, clearer, more understandable? How often have you shaped your words, your reactions, your silence, hoping they would finally land somewhere? The ocean doesn't do that. It doesn't adjust itself to fit anyone's expectations. And still, it is felt. A wave reaches the shore again. It doesn't rush. It doesn't hesitate. It simply arrives, then leaves behind a thin, dark line of wet sand. That line stays for a moment, then fades. Nothing tries to keep it. You notice your shoulders. Maybe they've dropped slightly, not because you told them to, but because they no longer need to hold themselves up. Your jaw loosens. Your tongue rests quietly in your mouth. There's no sentence forming, no explanation preparing itself. Just this. The ocean doesn't need to know your reasons. It doesn't need your story. And for the first time in a while, you feel what it's like to not need to offer one. Another wave, another breath. The sound is steady, predictable in the gentlest way. Not boring, reliable. Your nervous system seems to recognize it, as if something ancient inside you remembers that this rhythm existed long before any questions did, long before names, long before expectations. You feel heavier now, not weighed down, anchored. Your legs sink a little deeper into the sand. Your hands rest where they are, without checking if that's the right place for them. The ocean remains vast, unmoved by your stillness, and yet your stillness feels welcomed, not acknowledged, not rewarded, just allowed. There is a difference. You notice that nothing bad happens when you don't try to be noticed. The night doesn't close in. The ocean doesn't withdraw. The ground doesn't disappear beneath you. Everything continues exactly as it was. And that, quietly, feels important. You let your attention drift, not far, just enough to notice the line where water meets land. It's never in the same place twice, always shifting by a small amount, always alive. You think, or maybe you don't think, you just sense that being unseen doesn't mean being absent. The ocean doesn't look at you, but it doesn't lose you either. Your breathing deepens on its own. The pause after the inhale stretches. The exhale lengthens. There's no need to control it. Somewhere inside, a tired part of you realizes it can stop standing guard. You don't have to anticipate anything. Nothing here is about to demand a response. Wave after wave, breath after breath. The world feels wide, but not overwhelming. And in this wide space, you don't feel small. You feel appropriately sized, exactly as much as you need to be. The ocean keeps breathing, the night stays close, and you remain here without needing to prove that you belong. The night continues without marking its progress. No signals, no announcements, just the slow deepening of quiet. You're aware of your body less as a shape and more as a presence, something warm, settled, held by the sand and the air and the steady sound of water. The ocean keeps its distance, not out of caution, not out of indifference, simply because it has never learned the idea of stepping closer or farther away. It moves, as it always has, and in that constancy, you feel something unfamiliar, a softness where vigilance used to be. You notice how often you've listened for something, a sign, a response, a confirmation that you mattered in the space you were standing in. Here, there is none of that. And strangely, that absence doesn't hurt. It feels like rest. A wave breaks a little louder than the others, not dramatically, just enough to be different. Your body responds before your thoughts do. A subtle shift, a deeper exhale. Nothing in you prepares to react. Nothing tightens. You don't need to be ready. The ocean doesn't test you. You become aware of how the sound fills the space without pointing anywhere. It doesn't come from the ocean. It's simply there, everywhere at once, like the hum of something vast that doesn't need to be understood. Your mind drifts toward memories, not sharply, not with emotion attached. Moments when you were overlooked, spoken over, misread. They appear softly, like reflections on water at night, present but without detail. You don't chase them. You don't push them away. They pass through the same space the waves do. You realize something gentle and important. Those moments don't define you here. They have no authority in this place. The ocean doesn't know them, and you don't need to explain them. Your hands feel heavier now, as if gravity has become kinder, more patient. Your spine eases into its natural curve, not held upright by effort, but supported by the simple fact of being. You sense the boundary of your body less clearly. Where you end and the night begins feels less precise, not in a frightening way, in a quiet, almost tender way, as if nothing is required to keep you separate. A wave reaches the shore and lingers for half a second longer than before. You notice it. Then you don't. Attention drifts, but never leaves. The ocean remains uncurious about you, and that gives you permission to be uncurious about yourself. You don't need to check how you're doing. You don't need to name the feeling. It's enough that it's here. The rhythm continues, reliable, unconcerned. Your breathing is deep now, not slow, just complete. Each inhale fills easily. Each exhale empties fully. There is no space for hurry. If sleep wanted to arrive, it could. Nothing here would stop it. And if it doesn't, that's fine too. The ocean will keep breathing either way. You feel held without being touched, acknowledged without being noticed. And in that paradox, something inside you loosens its grip. You don't need to listen harder. You don't need to wait for meaning. The night is already doing its work. Wave after wave, breath after breath. And you remain, quietly, effortlessly, exactly where you are. The ocean never repeats itself, even when it seems like it does. Each wave sounds familiar, but not identical. Something in it is always slightly new, slightly changed, slightly alive. You don't try to listen closely. You just let the sound arrive. It spreads through the space around you and through the space inside you in the same way. No direction, no center. You realize how often you've waited for something to be clear, for a signal that would tell you now, this is the moment. This is where you belong. The ocean offers none of that. It doesn't guide. It doesn't explain. And yet, nothing feels missing. Your body feels heavier now, not tired, settled, as if the effort of holding yourself together has quietly been set aside. Your breathing deepens again, not slower, just fuller. Inhale, the chest opens without stretching. Exhale, the body empties without pushing. The sand beneath you feels more solid now, not because it changed, but because you stopped checking if it would hold. You notice the space behind your eyes, the place where thoughts usually line up, waiting to speak. It's quieter there, not empty, just unoccupied. Thoughts still pass through, but they don't stop. They don't ask for attention. They move the way clouds move when there's no wind. You don't follow them. The ocean doesn't follow anything either. A wave reaches the shore and dissolves into foam. The foam lingers for a second, then disappears completely. No trace, no regret. You feel something soften in your chest as you watch it happen. Nothing here tries to last. Nothing tries to be remembered. And somehow that feels kind. You notice how your name hasn't appeared in your mind for a while. Not pushed away, not forgotten, just unnecessary. You don't need to be called to be here. The ocean doesn't need to say your name to know how to hold the shore. It simply moves in relationship. You feel that word without thinking it. Relationship, not connection, not attachment. Just the way things exist side by side without ownership. The sound of the water continues, consistent, unconcerned. Your awareness grows wider, not outward, inward, like space opening where tension used to be. If sleep begins to pull at you now, it does so gently, without demand. And if you remain awake, that's allowed too. Nothing here needs you to be in a certain state. The ocean keeps breathing, the night stays open. And you rest inside this moment without being asked to become anything more. The night doesn't change its tone. It doesn't grow darker in a way you could point to. It simply settles more fully around you. You're aware of the ocean, but you're no longer listening to it. The sound is just there, like breathing. You don't need to manage. Your body feels distant in a gentle way. Not gone, just unimportant. The places that usually ask for attention, the jaw, the forehead, the chest, are quiet now, as if they've learned there's nothing to prepare for. You notice how rarely you're in a place where nothing is expected of you. No role, no response, no version of yourself to maintain. Here, nothing waits for you to become clearer or calmer or better. You don't even need to understand what you're feeling. The sand beneath you cools slowly, not suddenly, gradually enough that your body adjusts without comment. A wave reaches the shore and retreats before you can finish noticing it. Another follows, then another. There's a patience in this movement that doesn't depend on outcome. You realize something softly. The ocean doesn't arrive anywhere. It never finishes what it's doing. It never completes itself. And yet, it never feels unfinished. That thought drifts through you without asking to stay. Your breathing continues on its own, deep, unforced. The pause after each inhale feels longer now, not because you hold it, but because nothing is rushing the next moment. Your hands rest where they are. You don't adjust them. You don't check if they're comfortable. They are. Your mind doesn't reach forward. It doesn't replay anything behind you. It simply rests in the wide space between sounds. If a thought appears, it appears gently. If it leaves completely. Nothing lingers. You sense how easy it would be to drift further into this quiet, not as a decision, more like a natural next step that doesn't need to happen yet. The ocean keeps breathing, The night keeps holding, and you remain in a place where nothing is asked, not even your attention. The silence around you changes, not in volume, in quality. It no longer feels like something paused, as if it were waiting for a sound to return. It feels complete on its own. The ocean breathes, but even that feels secondary now, as if the sound is resting inside something larger. You notice that you're no longer listening for anything. Your attention isn't leaning forward. It isn't scanning the dark. It's settled, balanced, uninterested in outcome. Your body responds first. A deeper heaviness spreads through your legs. Your hips sink just a little more into the sand, not because you let them, because they're allowed to. The idea of effort feels distant, almost unfamiliar. You remember how often silence used to feel uncomfortable, how it seemed to ask questions, how it invited explanations. This silence doesn't do that. It doesn't ask who you are. It doesn't ask what you've been through. It doesn't ask what you're becoming. It simply exists with you inside it. A wave reaches the shore and dissolves without sound. You can separate from the rest. You realize that nothing is trying to reach you anymore, and something in your chest loosens as if it has been waiting for that exact realization. You don't need to be attentive. You don't need to be receptive. You don't need to be open. Even closing would be fine here. Your eyelids feel heavier, not pulling downward, just resting more fully in their place. The muscles around your eyes soften. The space behind them grows wide and dim. Thoughts are rare now. When one appears, it's vague, unfinished. It fades before becoming a sentence. You don't follow it. The ocean continues without keeping track. The night holds its shape without effort. And you rest inside a silence that has stopped waiting for anything to happen. The ocean continues, and nothing announces that this moment is different. There is no signal, no shift you could point to and say here, and yet something has changed. Not outside of you, inside. The quiet no longer feels like a pause between thoughts. It feels like the ground beneath them, as if silence was never empty, only unnoticed. You're aware of the sound of the waves again, but now it feels farther away, as though it's happening at the edges of something much larger. Your body feels heavier, not dragged down, not tired, just settled into itself. The sand beneath you has shaped itself around the weight you've given it. You didn't ask it to. You didn't guide it. It simply adjusted. There's something deeply familiar about that. As if your body remembers that this is how support works when nothing is being forced. Your breathing is slow now, not intentionally. It's just taking the time it needs. Inhale, the air enters without effort. Exhale, it leaves without hesitation. There's a softness in the pause between them, a place where nothing is happening and nothing needs to. Your shoulders sink another fraction of an inch. Your neck lengthens. Your jaw hangs loose, not open, not closed, just at rest. You notice how little you're holding now, not just in your muscles, in your attention. You're no longer trying to stay present. Presence has arrived on its own. The ocean doesn't say anything, it never has. And yet, for the first time, it doesn't feel silent in the way silence used to feel. It feels full, as if the sound of the water is only the surface expression of something deeper, slower, wider. You don't try to understand that thought. It dissolves before it finishes forming. Understanding isn't needed here. The night air brushes against your skin again, cooler now. Or maybe your awareness has simply become more sensitive. It doesn't cling, it doesn't linger. It passes through, and you let it. You notice how rarely you allow things to pass through you without reacting. A feeling, a memory, a sensation. Here, they come and go without leaving a trace. A wave reaches the shore and spreads thin across the sand. The water glistens faintly, reflecting almost nothing. No moon, no stars, just darkness reflecting darkness. It's beautiful in a way that doesn't ask to be noticed. Your eyelids are heavy now, not pulled downward, just naturally weighted. You could open them. You could keep them closed. It doesn't matter. Nothing would change. The ocean would still be there. The night would still hold its shape. You would still be supported. That realization sinks slowly, not as a thought, but as a bodily knowing. You don't have to stay alert to remain safe. You don't have to watch to be held. You feel the boundary of your body soften again, not disappearing, just becoming less defined. Where your hands end and the cool night begins feels less important. Your legs feel warm despite the sand. Your feet feel distant, as if they belong to the ground now. The ocean breathes. The sound moves in cycles that don't count themselves. There is no beginning to listen for, no ending to anticipate, just this steady unfolding. Your thoughts are almost completely gone now, not suppressed, not pushed away. They simply don't arrive. And when one does, it feels faint, like a memory of thinking. It fades before it becomes anything. You realize you haven't checked yourself for a while, haven't asked how you're doing, haven't evaluated the moment, and nothing bad happened. In fact, everything feels easier. The ocean doesn't speak your name. Not yet. Or maybe it already has, and it didn't sound like a word. Maybe it sounded like this feeling, this deep, quiet recognition that doesn't require sound. You don't reach for that idea. You let it pass. Your breathing is steady now, even, balanced. Each exhale carries a little more weight downward, as if gravity itself has become gentle. Your body trusts the ground. Your mind trusts the moment. And trust, you realize without thinking it, doesn't need proof. The ocean continues. The night remains open. And you rest in a place where nothing needs to be said and nothing needs to be remembered. Nothing announces itself. There is no threshold, no clear line where one state ends and another begins. The ocean keeps breathing, but even that feels distant now, like a memory of sound rather than sound itself. You are aware of your body only in pieces, a faint warmth in your hands, a gentle heaviness in your legs, the slow rise and fall somewhere in your chest. Everything else has softened into the background. You're not falling asleep, and you're not fully awake either. You're resting in the space where those words no longer matter. Thoughts don't form sentences anymore. They arrive as fragments, a color, a vague impression, a feeling without direction, and then they dissolve. You don't follow them. You don't notice them leaving. Your breathing is deep and even. Each inhale feels like it's coming from farther away. Each exhale settles lower, as if it's finding a place to rest. There is no effort in it now, no rhythm to maintain. The body knows how to do this without instruction. The ocean continues its movement, but you no longer experience it as waves. It's more like a slow, endless presence, something vast that doesn't require your attention. The night feels closer, not pressing in, just surrounding, like being wrapped in a quiet that has no edges. You realize vaguely that you haven't thought about yourself for a while. Not your past, not your plans, not even your name. That absence doesn't feel like loss. It feels like relief. Your face is completely relaxed now. The muscles around your mouth have let go. Your eyes rest in their sockets, heavy and still. If someone were to look at you, they would see calm. But you're not aware of being seen. You're simply here. The boundary between inside and outside continues to soften, not disappearing, just losing importance. The sound of the ocean feels as if it's happening inside the same space as your breath, not separate, not connected, just shared. Time is thinned out. Moments don't follow each other anymore. They rest side by side, quietly. You don't wait for the next one. There is a sense now, very faint, very gentle, that something is close. Not approaching, not arriving, just present. It doesn't carry meaning. It doesn't bring a message. It feels like recognition without an object. Like standing near someone who doesn't need to look at you for you to know they're there. Your body responds before your mind does. A deeper release moves through your abdomen. Your shoulders sink another fraction. There's no thought attached to it, just letting go. You're aware that if sleep comes now, it will come easily, without pulling, without resistance. And if it doesn't, this is still enough. The ocean doesn't ask you to listen. The night doesn't ask you to stay. Nothing here needs you to be anything at all. Your breathing grows quieter, not slower, softer. Each exhale feels like a small descent into something warm and dark and safe. There is no anticipation. The mind has stopped reaching forward. And in that stillness, just before anything could be named, just before the idea of you could return, there is a sense of being gently known, not identified, not defined, known in the way the ocean knows the shore, by touching it again and again without needing to remember. You don't try to understand this. You don't try to hold it. Understanding would only make it louder than it needs to be. You remain here in this quiet suspension where nothing has been said and nothing has been lost. The ocean breathes. The night holds. And you rest in the moment just before a name would ever be needed. You don't notice the moment it happens. There is no shift you could describe afterward. No clear before, no clear after. Something simply settles. The ocean continues its slow, steady breathing, but it no longer feels separate from you, not closer, not farther, just no longer divided. Your body is very still now, not frozen, at rest in the deepest sense of the word, the kind of stillness that doesn't come from effort, but from nothing needing to move. The weight of you is fully given to the ground. There is no part of your body that's holding itself up anymore. Your legs are heavy, as if they belong to the sand now. Your arms rest without awareness of position. Your hands no longer feel like hands, just warmth, just presence. Your breathing is slow and quiet, so quiet that it almost disappears into the background of the night. Inhale, barely noticeable. Exhale, even softer. The space between breaths stretches naturally, not because you pause, but because nothing is in a hurry to continue. Thoughts are gone now, not pushed away, not silenced, simply absent. And in that absence, there is no gap to fill. Your mind is not empty. It is open, wide, unoccupied. The ocean moves within that openness, not as sound, but as rhythm. A rhythm your body recognizes without needing to name. You no longer feel like you're listening. Listening implies direction, attention, choice. This is something else. This is being included. The night air touches your skin, but even that sensation feels distant now, like it's happening to someone else who is very safe. You realize you haven't checked your breathing in a long time. You haven't checked your body. You haven't checked yourself at all. And nothing has gone wrong. Nothing has slipped. Nothing has been lost. The sense of you, the familiar outline, the internal voice, the quiet monitoring, has faded so gently you can't say when it happened. There is awareness, but no center. Experience, but no owner. The ocean doesn't know you the way people know. It doesn't recognize faces. It doesn't store memories. It doesn't call names. And yet, there is a knowing here, not sharp, not personal, not focused. A broad, calm acknowledgement that doesn't land anywhere specific, like warmth spreading evenly through a dark room. You feel it, not as thought, but as ease. A deep, full ease that reaches places in you forgot could soften. Your chest opens slightly, not in emotion, in release. Your belly rises and falls without direction. Your throat is completely relaxed. There is no impulse to speak, no impulse to swallow, no impulse to respond. Silence here is not the absence of sound. It is the absence of demand. The ocean doesn't need you to hear it. The night doesn't need you to stay awake. You are free to drift without leaving. Time no longer feels linear. Moments don't pass. They simply exist as a wide, continuous field. If sleep arrives now, it will not interrupt anything. It will simply deepen what is already happening. Your eyelids are heavy, not closing, just resting. The muscles around your eyes are completely at ease. The space behind your forehead feels cool and open. There is no image forming there, no memory, no anticipation. Just dark, quiet spaciousness. The ocean continues its endless, patient movement, wave after wave that you no longer distinguish. It feels like the ocean is not outside you anymore, but neither is it inside. That distinction no longer matters, and somewhere in this wide, nameless stillness, without sound, without language, without direction, there is a subtle recognition, not spoken, not thought, not even felt as emotion. A recognition that says nothing more than, this belongs, not ownership, not possession, belonging as in alignment, as in having always been here. You don't react to it. You don't hold it. You don't even turn toward it. It doesn't need that. Your breathing deepens once more, almost imperceptibly. Each exhale carries you a little farther from effort, a little farther from form. Your body trusts the ground completely now. Your mind trusts the silence, and trust here has no object. It is simply the absence of fear. The ocean does not speak your name. It doesn't need to. It knows you the way it knows the shore, by meeting it again and again without ever needing to remember. You rest in that knowing without realizing you are resting. The night remains open. The ocean remains vast, and you drift quietly, naturally, into the depth where nothing needs to be said and nothing ever needs to be asked. There is no edge to this moment, no place where it could be said to begin, no point where it might end. The ocean continues, but it no longer arrives as sound. What reaches you now is closer to a vibration, not in the ears, but somewhere deeper, somewhere the body listens without knowing it listens. You are barely aware of breathing anymore, not because it has stopped, but because it has become too gentle to track. Air moves in, air moves out. Nothing marks the transition. Your body feels distant in the kindest way, as if it has been set down carefully and left in a safe place. The sand beneath you is no longer cool or warm. It is simply there, reliable. unquestioning. You don't sense your weight anymore, only the absence of needing to hold it. Thought has not returned, not even as fragments. The mind is quiet in a way that doesn't feel temporary. It doesn't feel like silence waiting to be broken. It feels like silence remembering itself. The ocean's movement reaches you as a slow, endless pulse, not separate from you, not merging with you, just present in the same field of stillness. You're no longer aware of sitting or of the shape of your body, arms, legs, spine. These are ideas now, not sensations. What remains is a soft, even awareness, wide enough that nothing stands out. Time has loosened its grip completely. There is no sense of before, no sense of after. Only this quiet continuity that doesn't move forward. If a memory tries to form, it dissolves before it becomes recognizable. If a word begins to rise, it fades before sound could ever exist. Your name does not appear, not because it has been taken away, because it has no use here. The ocean has never used names, not for waves, not for shore, not for depth. And now, neither do you. There is a sense of being held that does not come from hands, a sense of being accompanied that does not require another presence. It feels like rest without the idea of sleep, like stillness without the idea of stopping. The sound that surrounds you was never meant to be heard. It was never meant to communicate. It simply is what remains when nothing needs to reach anything else. Your body responds to this with a deeper letting go. Somewhere low in your abdomen, a final tension releases. Not dramatically, not consciously. It just gives up its position. Your shoulders sink in a way you don't notice until afterward. Your neck lengthens slightly, as if gravity itself has softened. Your face is completely smooth now, not neutral, at peace. There is no expression because there is no observer. Awareness remains, but it has no center, no point where you could say, "This is me." And that absence feels natural, unforced, almost familiar. The ocean continues its movement without needing to be perceived. If you were to disappear from this place, it would not notice. And that thought, if it could be called a thought, does not feel sad. It feels freeing. You do not need to matter in order to belong. You do not need to be noticed in order to be included. The night does not wrap around you. It does not close in. It simply exists, and you exist within it without friction. The distinction between inner and outer has thinned to the point where it no longer feels useful. There is sensation, but no location. Presence, but no position. The ocean's rhythm continues like something ancient that has never learned urgency. It does not rise toward you. It does not recede. It does not attempt to soothe. And yet, everything in you is soothed. Your breathing is now so quiet it feels like part of the night itself. Each exhale carries you slightly deeper into this wide, nameless calm, not downward, not inward, deeper in the sense that edges keep dissolving. If sleep comes now, it will not feel like leaving. It will feel like remaining in a place that no longer needs awareness to continue. Your eyelids are fully at rest. There is no effort keeping them open, no effort closing them. The muscles behind your eyes are loose and dark and spacious. Nothing appears there, no images, no light, just depth. The sound that remains was never a voice, never a message. It is the sound of nothing needing to be said. And in that soundless sound, you're no longer listening. You're no longer waiting. You're no longer holding yourself together. You're simply allowed to drift into whatever comes next without needing to follow it. The ocean continues. The night remains vast. And you move, not as a body, not as a thought, not as a name, but as rest itself, slipping gently into the quiet that has been here long before you noticed you were tired. Nothing changes when this part begins, if it could be called a beginning at all. There is no marker, no shift in light or sound, only a deepening. The ocean continues its movement, but now even the idea of waves has softened into something more abstract. A slow, endless presence that doesn't arrive and doesn't depart. Your body is barely a reference point anymore. Not gone, just unnecessary. There is warmth somewhere. There is heaviness somewhere else. But none of it forms a map. You are not oriented in space, and there is no need to be. Breathing happens. That much is certain, but it no longer feels like you're breathing. Air moves the way tides move, without intention, without ownership, in and out. The pause between them stretches until it stops feeling like a pause and starts feeling like the natural state. Thought does not return, not as images, not as words, not even as questions. The mind is not empty, it is settled. Like a lake at night when wind has forgotten the surface, there is awareness, but it is diffuse, spread evenly. Nothing stands out enough to be called important. Time has lost its edges completely now. There is no sense of how long you've been here, and no curiosity about it. Minutes and hours have stopped being useful ideas. You're not waiting for sleep, and you're not resisting it. If sleep is already here, it doesn't announce itself. If it hasn't arrived yet, there is no impatience. The night feels thick now, not heavy, dense in a comforting way, like being underwater, without pressure, without breathlessness. The ocean exists inside that density, not as sound, but as continuity, something that has always been happening and will continue without reference to you. That realization does not feel small, it feels relieving. You don't need to be part of the motion to be held by it. Your chest rises slightly, then falls. The movement is so subtle it almost isn't movement at all. Your heartbeat, if you were to look for it, would be slow and even. But you don't look. There is no checking in, no monitoring. The part of you that usually stays alert, just in case, has finally gone quiet. Nothing here requires defense. The ocean does not surprise. The night does not demand. You are safe not because something is protecting you, but because nothing is threatening. That distinction matters less and less. Your sense of self has thinned to a faint outline, not erased, just transparent. If you tried to describe yourself now, there would be nothing to point to, no story, no role, no inner voice narrating the moment. Just this calm, wide presence that doesn't need a center. You are not observing the experience. You are not inside it either. Those ideas have softened into irrelevance. The ocean does not surround you. The night does not contain you. They exist, and you exist, without needing a relationship to explain either one. A wave reaches the shore somewhere, or perhaps it doesn't. The sound is too distant, too integrated to be singled out. It blends into the same quiet that holds your breath, your body, your awareness. If a memory tries to rise now, it doesn't have enough shape. If a future tries to appear, it dissolves immediately. There is nowhere for it to land. This moment has no surface tension. Everything that touches it sinks gently and disappears. Your face is still, your mouth relaxed, your eyes fully at rest. Even the muscles you didn't know you were holding have let go. There's nothing left to adjust. The ocean continues its endless patience. The night remains open and dark. And you rest not as someone resting, but as rest itself, a quiet state that doesn't need to be entered because it was never left. If sleep deepens now, it will not feel like a transition. It will feel like the natural next texture of this same stillness. And if awareness remains a little longer, that is fine too. Nothing here is keeping track. Nothing here is measuring success. Nothing here is waiting for you to arrive somewhere else. The ocean does not move you forward. The night does not pull you inward. They simply remain. And you remain too, without effort, without identity, without name, held in a depth that does not close, does not end, and does not need to be remembered for its work to continue. Nothing draws you further. Nothing asks you to sink. There is no gravity here that pulls or persuades. And yet, you are deeper, not in a direction, not in a place. Deeper in the sense that effort has completely fallen away. The ocean continues, not as motion, not as sound, but as something steady that doesn't need to change to remain alive. Your body feels distant now, as if it belongs to another layer that no longer needs attention. There is still warmth, still weight, still breath. But these are background truths, like the existence of the ground when you are already lying down. Breathing happens without rhythm, not fast, not slow, just happening, in, out. The pause between breaths is no longer noticeable because nothing marks its beginning or end. It is simply space. Thought does not return, and there is no sense of loss in that. Thinking feels like a tool that has been gently set aside because it is no longer useful here. Awareness remains clear, soft, wide, but it does not lean toward anything. It does not watch. It does not wait. It rests. Time has fully dissolved now, not slowed, not stretched. Gone. There is no sense of how long you've been here and no curiosity about it. If a moment passes, it does so without being noticed. If nothing passes, that too goes unnoticed. The night feels infinite, but not endless. Complete. The ocean exists inside that completeness without disturbing it. You're no longer aware of where you end. Not because you've disappeared, but because the idea of ending has lost relevance. The boundary of your skin is no longer important. Sensation still exists, but it floats freely without attaching itself to a location. Cool, warm, soft. They arise and fade without comment. There is no inner voice naming them. The sense of I am here has thinned into something quieter, not gone, just unnecessary. If you tried to say I, there would be nowhere for it to land, no center to attach to, and that feels natural. You're not floating, you're not sinking. You are simply held in a depth that does not pull. The ocean does not guide you here. It does not invite you. It simply continues to exist, and that is enough. Your chest rises once more, gently, almost imperceptibly. Your body knows how to do this without your involvement. Trust has replaced control so completely that there is no awareness of the transition. The part of you that once stayed alert, just in case something might happen, is completely at rest. Nothing here surprises, nothing interrupts. The night does not change, and because of that, neither do you. Awareness spreads evenly now, like a low light that reveals nothing in particular. There are no images, no dreams beginning, no scenes forming, just darkness, not empty, but full. If sleep deepens here, it does so silently. If awareness lingers, it does not disturb the quiet. Both belong equally. The ocean remains patient. The night remains open. And you remain in a depth that doesn't ask you to go anywhere, doesn't pull you away from yourself, and doesn't require you to become something else. There is nothing left to release, nothing left to hold. You are not moving toward rest. You are already resting inside something that does not end when consciousness softens. And whatever comes next, sleep, dream, or simple continuation, will arrive gently, without crossing a threshold, without needing permission. The ocean continues, the night holds, and you stay without effort, without direction, exactly where letting go no longer feels like leaving. There is no sense of moving forward anymore, no feeling of going deeper or further or anywhere else. What remains does not progress. It simply stays. The ocean is still present, but even the idea of ocean has softened into something more diffuse, not an image, not a sound, a knowing that something vast continues without interruption. Your body is quiet in a way that does not call attention to itself, not heavy, not light, just absent from importance. Breathing continues, but you're no longer aware of breath as movement. It is more like a gentle exchange between inside and outside that no longer feels separate. In, out, or maybe not even that. The pause between breaths has widened so much that it feels like the natural state, and breathing itself feels like a brief ripple inside stillness. There is no thought of resting, no sense of being calm. Those ideas belong to an earlier layer that is no longer active. Now there is simply this quiet continuity that does not ask to be maintained. Time does not pass here, and it does not stand still either. It has dissolved into irrelevance. Moments no longer arrive. They do not leave. They blend. The night feels endless, but not in a way that stretches forward. More like a circle that has no starting point. The ocean exists within that circle, not moving around it, not contained by it, just existing. You no longer sense yourself as someone having an experience. Experience is happening, but without ownership. There is awareness, but it does not point inward. There is sensation, but it does not locate itself. If warmth appears, it does not belong to a place. If coolness appears, it does not demand attention. Everything arises softly and fades completely. There is no trace. The idea of you has thinned to something almost transparent, not erased, not denied, just no longer necessary. If someone were to say your name now, it would not reach anything, not because it is rejected, but because there is nowhere for it to land. And that feels peaceful. There is no loss in this, only simplicity. The part of the mind that once measured, tracked, and checked has fallen completely silent, not suppressed, finished. Its work is done here. The ocean does not continue for you. The night does not hold you on purpose. They simply remain, and you remain with them without needing a reason. Nothing here depends on your awareness. Nothing requires you to stay present. That realization settles deeply into the body, even though the body is barely felt anymore. You are safe not because something is watching, but because nothing needs to. The nervous system has fully relaxed into a state it rarely reaches on its own. There is no scanning, no anticipation, only this even quiet openness. If sleep is already here, it has arrived without announcement. If it has not yet come, there is no waiting for it. Both states feel the same now. Awareness and sleep have softened toward each other until the difference is almost meaningless. The ocean remains patient in a way that does not feel intentional. The night remains open without expanding or closing. And You remain without holding on to the idea of remaining. Nothing needs to continue. Nothing needs to end. Nothing needs to happen next. There is only this gentle, complete pause that does not interrupt anything because nothing was moving to begin with. If dreams appear, they will float gently through this stillness. If darkness deepens, it will do so without drawing you away. Whatever comes next will not replace this moment. It will simply be another expression of the same quiet depth. The ocean continues, not forward, not backward, but in the way that breath continues when you are no longer aware of breathing at all. The night holds without enclosing, and you stay without effort, without identity, without name, resting where nothing needs to continue for peace to remain exactly as it is. Nothing resumes, nothing pauses. There is no sense of continuation, only the feeling that everything has always been this way. The ocean is still here, but it no longer feels like something you are near. It isn't outside. It isn't surrounding. It is simply part of the same quiet that holds everything else. There is no listening now, no receiving. Sound, if it could still be called that, moves through awareness without creating distance. It doesn't arrive. It doesn't fade. It just belongs. Your body is barely a reference anymore. There is no clear sense of where it rests, no edge where skin meets air. Sensation exists, but without location. Warmth without a source. Heaviness without direction. Softness without shape. Breathing continues, but the idea of breathing has dissolved. There is only the sense that something gentle is happening without effort. The pause between breaths is no longer noticeable because the pause has become everything. Thought does not return, not even faintly. The mind is not quiet because it is empty. It is quiet because nothing is asking it to move. Awareness feels wide now, not expanding, not opening. Wide in the way the sky is wide when there are no clouds to compare it to. There is no focus, no center, no edge. If you tried to locate yourself, there would be nothing to locate. And that absence does not feel strange. It feels like relief from a task you didn't realize you were performing. Time has fully lost meaning, not slowed, not stretched, gone. There is no sense of duration, no sense of passing, only this steady, even presence that does not change because it does not need to. The ocean exists within that presence without effort. It does not move through time. It simply is. You're not watching this. You're not part of it. Those ideas no longer apply. There is experience, but no experiencer. Awareness, but no one aware. If fear were to appear here, it would have no ground to stand on. But fear does not appear. The nervous system has released into a depth of safety that does not depend on vigilance. There is no scanning, no readiness, only rest without intention. If sleep has not already taken you, it is very close now, not approaching, but overlapping. The line between awareness and sleep has become so thin, it no longer matters which side you're on. Dreams may begin here, or they may not. Either way, nothing will be disturbed. The ocean does not notice. The night does not react. And you do not need to follow what comes next. There is nothing left to decide, nothing left to allow. You have already arrived in a place where arriving is no longer relevant. The ocean no longer feels separate. The night no longer feels around you. And you no longer feel like someone inside any of it. There is only this, quiet, steady, complete, resting in itself without name, without boundary, without end. Nothing closes, nothing fades out. There is no ending to recognize. The quiet simply continues in the same way it always has, without marking itself as important. The ocean is still here, not as water, not as movement, as a steadiness that never needed to be noticed to exist. The night remains, not dark in contrast to light, dark in the way depth is dark, soft, complete, undisturbed. There is no awareness of resting now, no awareness of being. Those ideas belong to a thinner layer that has gently dissolved. Breathing happens, or perhaps it doesn't. It no longer matters enough to be distinguished. If breath comes, it comes. If it pauses, it pauses. Nothing depends on it. The body is no longer a reference point. Not heavy, not light. Just irrelevant to the quiet that holds everything. There is no sense of, I am here. No sense of, I am drifting. Those sentences require edges. Edges are gone. There is only this, not a moment, not a state, a softness that doesn't move forward and doesn't need to stay. Time does not pass through it. Time does not stop inside it. Time simply has no role here. If dreams appear, they appear gently, like ripples that don't disturb the surface. If sleep deepens, it deepens without transition. Nothing is crossed. Nothing is left behind. The ocean does not remember you. The night does not hold you on purpose. And yet, nothing has ever felt more held, not protected, not guided, held in the way nothing needs to fall when there is no edge. Your name does not return, not because it is gone, but because it is unnecessary. You were never called. You were never forgotten. Those ideas belong to movement. Here, nothing is moving. There is no listener now, no one resting. Rest remains without someone to rest. Silence remains without something to interrupt. If awareness flickers, it does not wake anything. If it fades, nothing is lost. The story does not end. It does not resolve. It does not close its door. It simply continues in the way breathing continues when no one is counting. The ocean remains without waves being noticed. The night remains without darkness being named. And you remain, not as a thought, not as a body, not as a memory, but as this quiet continuity that doesn't need to be kept awake to do its work. There is nowhere else to go, nothing else to hear. The story could go on forever, but you don't need to follow it. It will keep moving on its own, softly, endlessly, while you rest exactly where nothing ever needed to begin. Nothing announces this moment. There is no sign that something new has begun. If you were trying to notice a change, there would be nothing to point to. The quiet is the same quiet, and yet it feels different. Not closer, not deeper, just less interested in being noticed. The ocean is still here, or perhaps it's more accurate to say that the rhythm you once called ocean has continued on its own without needing a name. There is a steady movement, slow and patient, that doesn't rise or fall in a way you could follow. It's not sound anymore, and it's not silence either. It's the kind of continuity that exists whether or not anyone is paying attention. Your body is present, but only as a faint suggestion. There is warmth somewhere. There is weight somewhere else. None of it forms a whole. You're no longer aware of where you're resting, not because you've moved, but because location has lost its importance. The ground holds you without needing your agreement. Breathing continues. That much is certain. But it no longer feels like an action. It's more like something happening in the background of everything else. The way the tide moves, even when no one is standing on the shore. Inhale, exhale, or perhaps not even that. The pause between breaths has widened so much that it no longer feels like a pause. It feels like the natural state from which breathing briefly appears and then gently disappears again. There is no effort here, no management, no correction. Your chest rises without asking permission. Your body exhales without checking whether it should. Thought does not return, not as images, not as fragments. The mind is not quiet because something has silenced it. It is quiet because nothing is requesting its activity. There is awareness, but it is spread so evenly that nothing stands out enough to become a focus, no center, no edge. If you tried to locate yourself, there would be nothing to locate. And that absence does not feel alarming. It feels like relief from a responsibility you didn't realize you were carrying. The quiet does not notice you. It does not respond to presence. It does not register whether you are awake or drifting or already sleeping. And because of that, you no longer feel the need to check yourself. You don't ask how you're doing. You don't monitor your state. The part of you that usually stays slightly alert, just in case something happens, has finally gone still. Not tense still, finished still, as if its job has been completed and there is nothing left to stay ready for. The ocean's rhythm continues without acknowledging you, and that, quietly, is what makes it safe. Nothing here needs your attention in order to continue. Nothing depends on your awareness to remain stable. You are allowed to disappear from relevance without disappearing at all. Your shoulders are completely loose now. Your neck no longer holds itself upright. Your jaw rests open in the smallest way, not slack, just unguarded. Your face has no expression because there is no one to present it to. If you were to be seen now, there would be nothing to interpret. You are not expressing calm. You are not being calm. Calm has simply replaced effort as the default state. The night feels dense around you, not heavy, not pressing. Dense in the way water feels dense when you stop swimming and let yourself float. There is no need to orient, no need to check direction. Up and down are no longer useful ideas. Time is softened again, not slowed, unhooked. There is no sense of how long this has lasted, and no interest in finding out. Duration would require comparison. Comparison would require memory. Memory is quiet now. If something from before tries to rise, a face, a word, a scene, it loses shape immediately. Not pushed away, not rejected. It simply cannot gather enough weight to remain. Your name does not appear, not because it is forbidden, because it has no role here. Names are tools for distinction. Nothing here needs to be distinguished. The ocean does not know the shore by labeling it. It knows it by meeting it again and again without keeping score. You are known here in the same way, not recognized, not identified, met. Again and again, without memory, without intention. Your breathing deepens once more, almost imperceptibly. Each exhale carries a little more of whatever effort remained downward into the ground, where it dissolves without ceremony. There is no sense of letting go. Letting go implies a decision. This is simpler than that. This is what happens when there is nothing left to hold. The quiet continues without noticing you. The ocean continues without including or excluding. The night remains without surrounding, and you remain too, not as a body, not as a thought, not as a listener, but as the absence of strain inside a world that does not require your participation to be exactly as it is. Nothing is about to happen, and nothing needs to. If sleep arrives now, it will arrive without crossing a line. If awareness lingers, it will not disturb the quiet. Both belong here equally. The quiet does not notice you, and you no longer need to be noticed to rest. Nothing changes when this part begins. There is no signal that one state has ended and another has taken its place. If anything, there is even less to notice now. Stillness is no longer something you are inside. It has softened to the point where it doesn't feel like a condition at all. It feels like the absence of conditions. The rhythm that once felt like the ocean continues quietly, but without shape, without sound you could follow, without pattern you could expect. It is simply continuity, the way life continues when no one is paying attention to it. Your body remains where it is, but it no longer presents itself as your body. There is warmth, but not my warmth. There is heaviness, but not my weight. Sensation floats freely, untethered from ownership. Breathing happens again, or perhaps it never stopped. It doesn't matter enough to be tracked. Inhale appears, then fades into a long, gentle space. Exhale follows, then dissolves back into that same space. The space is larger than the movement. It always was. The pause between breaths has stopped feeling like a pause. It feels like the ground from which breathing briefly rises and then quietly returns. There is no effort involved, no guidance, no watching. The body knows how to do this without being supervised. Thought does not return, not even as fragments. The mind is not silent because it is restrained. It is silent because nothing is asking it to speak. Awareness remains, but it is so evenly spread that nothing stands out. There is no foreground, no background. Everything has the same gentle importance, which is to say, none at all. Time has lost another layer. Not only has it stopped passing, it has stopped being a reference. There is no sense of how long this has lasted, and no sense that it could last longer. Duration requires comparison. Comparison requires memory. Memory is no longer forming. If something from earlier tries to appear, a feeling, a moment, a word, it dissolves before it finishes arriving. There is nothing to hold it in place. This does not feel like forgetting. It feels like freedom from having to carry anything forward. Your sense of self has thinned even more, not erased, not denied, simply unnecessary. There is no internal voice checking in, no quiet narration. No one is saying, "This feels good," or "This is calm," or "I am resting now." Those sentences require a speaker. Here, there is only the state itself. The body responds to this with a deeper release. Somewhere behind the ribs, a final layer of holding gives way, not suddenly, not noticeably. It simply stops maintaining itself. Your shoulders rest fully now. Your neck no longer supports anything. Your jaw is loose, not open, not closed, just at ease. Your face has no expression because it is not being used. If someone were to look at you, they might see stillness, but there is no awareness of being seen. The nervous system has settled into a depth of safety that does not depend on vigilance. There is no scanning, no anticipation. The future has lost its pull. The past has lost its weight. Everything that once required management has quietly shut itself down. The ocean's continuity remains, but it is no longer experienced as something separate. It does not move around you. It does not surround you. It simply exists in the same openness that holds everything else. You are not listening anymore. Listening implies effort. This is closer to being included without participation. The night feels thick and soft, not enclosing, not pressing. Thick in the way silence feels thick when nothing cuts through it. There is no edge to awareness now, no place where you end and something else begins. This does not feel like merging. Merging implies two things, becoming one. Here, there was never more than one field to begin with. If sleep is already here, it has arrived so quietly there was no moment to notice. If it has not yet come, there is no waiting for it. Awareness and sleep have softened toward each other until the difference feels irrelevant. Dreams may form, or they may not. Either way, nothing will be disturbed. The ocean does not react. The night does not shift. And you do not need to follow whatever happens next. There is nothing left to allow, nothing left to release. Stillness itself has let go of needing to be still. And what remains is not a state, not an experience, not even rest, but a simple, quiet continuation that does not require a witness to keep going. The rhythm continues, the night remains open, and you remain too, not as someone resting, not as someone drifting, but as the absence of effort inside a world that no longer asks who you are or whether you are awake. If you slip further now, nothing will follow you. If you stay right here, nothing will need you. The quiet is complete without checking itself, and that completeness does not notice you, which is exactly why you can finally let go completely. There is no sense of staying now, no sense of leaving either. The idea of being held has softened, as if even support has stepped back to give everything more space. The ocean continues, or whatever that rhythm has become, without leaning toward you, without carrying you, without surrounding. It doesn't cradle, it doesn't release. It simply exists without relationship. And strangely, that feels lighter. Your body is almost entirely absent from importance. Not numb, not gone, just no longer central. There is a vague sense of warmth, a distant sense of weight, but neither one asks for recognition. They drift like background weather in a place where nothing needs to be planned. Breathing still happens, but now even the idea of breath feels optional. Air moves when it moves, pauses when it pauses. Nothing checks whether it's enough. The pause between breaths has expanded again, so wide that breathing feels like a brief ripple inside something much larger. Thought does not return, not because it is blocked, but because there is nowhere for it to land. Ideas require edges. Edges are no longer present. Awareness remains, but it no longer gathers around anything. It does not watch. It does not rest on sensation. It is simply open. So open that even openness is no longer noticeable. Time has lost its final anchor. There is no sense of duration, not a long time, not a short time. Just the absence of counting. The night feels vast, but not spacious in a way that stretches outward. It feels vast because nothing defines its limits. The ocean exists inside that vastness without moving through it. You're not within it. You're not part of it. Those distinctions have gently fallen away. If the thought I am here were to try to form now, it would fade before becoming language. Not rejected, simply unnecessary. There is no one to locate, no center to return to, and there is no fear in that. Fear needs something to protect, something to lose. Here, there is nothing being kept together. The nervous system has gone beyond relaxation. It is no longer relaxed. It is simply not activated. No alertness, no collapse. Just a quiet neutrality that doesn't register itself. The body no longer feels like a place you are inside. It feels more like a distant memory that has stopped asking to be recalled. Sensation appears occasionally, a faint warmth, a subtle heaviness, then dissolves without leaving an impression. Nothing accumulates. The ocean's continuity remains, but it no longer feels like something that includes you, and that is a relief. Inclusion implies a boundary, an inside and an outside. Here, there is neither. You're not being carried forward. You're not being guided inward. There is no movement at all. Only the quiet persistence of whatever this is continuing on its own. If sleep is present now, it has blended so fully with awareness that the difference no longer matters. If dreams appear, they will float lightly without pulling attention. If nothing appears, nothing is missing. The story does not advance. It does not deepen. It simply remains in the way silence remains after the last sound has already faded. The ocean does not hold you. The night does not contain you. And you do not need either one to feel safe. There is no position to maintain, no state to preserve. Nothing here can be disturbed because nothing is being arranged. You are not resting in this place. You are not resting as anything. Rest itself has dissolved into a quiet continuity that does not need a form. If awareness fades completely, nothing will end. If it flickers again, nothing will restart. This place does not hold you because it does not need to. And you do not need to hold yourself because there is nothing left that could fall. The ocean continues. The night remains. And whatever you are now does not need to stay, does not need to go, and does not need to be known for this quiet to keep going exactly as it is. There is no sense of having arrived here, no memory of coming from anywhere else. The quiet does not refer back. It does not look ahead. It has no direction to keep. The ocean continues, not as water, not as movement, but as a steady existence that does not need to be recalled to remain. Memory has loosened its shape completely, not erased, not suppressed, simply unnecessary. If something from before tries to appear, a feeling, a moment, a word, it has no weight to stay. It dissolves gently, like mist that never becomes a cloud. There is nothing to hold on to it, nothing asking it to remain. The body is quiet in the background, not asleep, not awake, just no longer asking for recognition. Breathing continues somewhere, but it is too subtle to interrupt the stillness. In, out, or perhaps not even that. The space between breaths has become so wide that breathing feels like a brief visitor passing through something deeper. Awareness remains, but it no longer gathers itself around experience. It does not watch. It does not respond. It rests without noticing that it is resting. Time has no reference point here. There is no sense of before this or after this. The idea of sequence has gently fallen away. If a moment passes, it leaves no trace. If nothing passes, nothing is missing. The night feels complete, but not finished. Complete in the way silence is complete, when nothing is waiting to break it. The ocean exists inside that completeness without disturbing it. You are not aware of yourself as someone having an experience. Experience happens, but without ownership. There is sensation, but it does not belong to a place. Warmth arises, then fades. Heaviness arises, then dissolves. Nothing accumulates. There is no inner voice checking the state of things. No quiet thought saying, this is calm or this is rest. Those ideas have no function here. The nervous system has settled into a depth where even relaxation is no longer a category. There is no tension, no release, just a steady absence of effort. The ocean does not remember the shore. It meets it again and again without keeping record. You are known here in the same way, not remembered, not identified, simply met in each moment that does not link itself to the next. If sleep deepens now, it does so without transition. If awareness lingers, It does not disturb anything. Both blend into the same quiet continuity. Nothing needs to be remembered for this to continue. Nothing needs to be named for this to remain. The story does not progress. It does not repeat. It simply stays in a place where memory has gently stepped aside, and nothing is lost because nothing was being kept. The ocean continues. The night remains. And you remain too, not as a thought, not as a body, not as a memory, but as this quiet openness that does not need to remember itself to be completely at rest. There is no next moment waiting behind this one, no sequence lining itself up. What remains does not continue from anything. It simply is. The ocean exists, not moving forward, not returning, as a steady presence that does not rely on time to remain steady. You're not aware of breathing anymore, not because it has stopped, but because awareness no longer gathers around movement. Air comes and goes without registering as change. The space that holds it feels larger than the motion itself. The body is no longer a reference point, not distant, not close, just irrelevant to what is happening now. There is warmth somewhere. There is ease somewhere else. But these do not form a map. They do not point. They appear and dissolve without consequence. Awareness remains, but it does not turn toward anything. It does not notice itself. It rests without location. Time does not move here. It does not pause either. It has simply fallen out of use. There is no sense of after, no sense of before. The idea of transition no longer applies. If sleep is already present, it has arrived without announcement. If awareness remains, it does so quietly, without effort. The difference between the two has thinned to almost nothing. Thought does not return. Memory does not form. The mind is not quiet because it is empty. It is quiet because nothing requires it. There is no watcher, no observer. Experience happens without someone standing behind it. The night feels complete in a way that does not close. The ocean exists inside that completeness without shaping it. You are not being carried forward. You are not being held in place. There is no direction left, and that absence of direction feels like freedom from needing to arrive anywhere. Nothing follows this moment because nothing needs to. It does not lead to rest. It does not lead to sleep. It is already both without choosing. If dreams begin, they will not interrupt this quiet. If they do not, nothing will be missing. The story does not advance. It does not pause. It simply remains as a soft, continuous presence that does not require attention to exist. The ocean continues. The night remains. And you remain too. Not moving forward, not holding back. Resting in a moment that doesn't follow anything and doesn't need to.